I was home alone in our little suburb outside Chicago, puttering around the kitchen making a cup of tea. My boyfriend, Tom, was at work. He's a mechanic, always covered in grease, and the kids were at school. At 31, I'd finally gotten to a place where life felt steady. A decent job as a nurse, a house we'd scraped together to buy 5 years ago, and neighbors who mostly kept to themselves. Well, except for the ones next door. Emma and her boyfriend, Mike, had moved in about a year earlier, and something about them always rubbed me the wrong way. Cars pulling up at all hours, people dashing in and out in under 5 minutes. We whispered about it over fences. Stolen goods, maybe? Fenced electronics or knockoff designer stuff. It was big in the area, with online marketplaces flooding with cheap fakes from overseas. But locals like Mike were undercutting the big players by hawking it door to door or through shady apps. Whatever it was, it screamed trouble. But I minded my own business. Until that knock on the back door. I glanced at the clock, around 2 p.m., and figured it was the utility guy. Our meter was out back, and they had called the week before about a reading. Without thinking twice, I swung the door open, tea mug still in hand. But it wasn't some guy in a hard hat. 2 massive men stood there, leather vests. One was bald with a thick beard, tattoos snaking up his neck like vines. The other had stringy hair under a bandana, eyes cold as steel. Before I could even say, "Who the hell are you?" the bearded one shoved past me, his hand like a vice on my arm. "Get inside, Emma," he growled, slamming the door behind them. My heart slammed into my ribs. Emma? That was the neighbor's name. I tried to pull away, but the stringy-haired one grabbed me from behind. "Don't you dare move, woman," he snarled. They hurled me against the wall in the hallway, my shoulder hitting first with a crack that sent pain shooting down my arm. The tea mug shattered on the floor, hot liquid splashing my legs. I gasped, trying to catch my breath, but they didn't even give me a second. The bearded man yanked me by the hair and threw me onto the couch in the living room. I landed hard, the cushion swallowing me as he pinned me down with his knee on my chest. His weight crushed the air out of me. I couldn't scream, couldn't think. "You're gonna listen real good. Your boy Mike's been selling too much of that knockoff shit. Fake phones, watches, bags, cutting into our territory. We've got the market locked down from here to Milwaukee, and he's pissing on it. You tell him the beasts are done playing nice." I wheezed, shaking my head. I'm not Emma. You've got the wrong house. Please let me up." "Shut your mouth," the stringy-haired one barked. He started ripping open drawers, tossing papers and remotes everywhere. "Where's the stash? Mike said it's in the basement behind the furnace." Basement? My mind raced. Emma's place was a ranch-style single floor with a basement. Ours was a back split. 4 levels with stairs twisting everywhere. No simple basement here. "This isn't her house. Look around. It's not the same layout. I'm Olivia. My mail's right there on the table. Please look. Just look." The bearded guy eased off a bit, glancing at his partner. "Check it out, Rocco." Rocco, the stringy one, snatched up the envelope. A bill from the electric company addressed to Olivia. He squinted at it, and then at me, his face twisting in confusion. "Damn, man, this ain't Emma." The knee lifted, and I sucked in air, curling up on the couch. My whole body shook, adrenaline flooding me like ice water. The bearded guy, who I later learned called himself Bear, stepped back, rubbing his beard. "Oh, wrong door?" Rocco tossed the mail aside and stormed through the house, boots thumping up the split-level stairs. I heard him cursing as he searched, opening closets, slamming doors. Bear kept his eyes on me, blocking the exit. "You her neighbor? The one next door?" I nodded frantically, tears stinging my eyes. "Yes, Emma lives there with Mike. I barely know them. Please, just go. I won't say anything, I swear. Won't say anything? Lady, you think we're amateurs? He leaned in closer. Mike's been fencing that counterfeit crap all over town, undercutting our suppliers. We run the game. Import the fakes from the docks, distribute to our crews. He's stealing customers with his cheap online But now, we hear he's got bigger problems. Did nasty things to our cousin last month at a party. Little thinks that he can hide behind a woman. I knew it was a lie. The party part, at least. Mike was sleazy, sure, but I'd never heard whispers like that. It was just an excuse. A way to justify their rage if the selling angle didn't stick. But I played along. Anything to de-escalate. I didn't know. That's awful. But I'm not involved. Please, my kids will be home soon. Just leave. Rocco came thundering back down, empty-handed. Nothing here. Wrong house, Bear. Let's bounce before she calls the cops. Bear eyed me and then nodded. But instead of leaving, he grabbed my purse from the coffee table and dumped it out. Wallet, keys, phone, everything scattered. He pocketed the cash, about $200 I had withdrawn for groceries. Consider this a warning fee. Tell Emma and Mike to watch their backs. And you? Keep your mouth shut, Olivia. We know where you live now. They finally left through the back door, the screen banging shut behind them. I sat there frozen for what felt like hours, but it was probably minutes. My hands trembled as I gathered my things, locking the door. Though, what good was that now? I called Tom first, sobbing into the phone. Come home, now, please. He raced back, tires screeching into the driveway. When he burst in, I collapsed into his arms, recounting it all between gasps. They thought I was Emma. Pinned me down. Searched everything. Took the money. Tom's face went white, then red with fury. Those bastards. We're calling the police. No, Tom, this could be dangerous with the kids and all. Thankfully, nothing much happened for the next few months. And eventually, Mike and Emma left the house forever. My mother was a very rich woman. She built a real estate empire from the ground up. She was a cold woman who only cared about business and her son, my brother, Raymond. Because he was the oldest, and he was just as cutthroat as her, she saw Raymond as the heir to her fortune, while I was just the other child. I learned very quickly to stay out of her way and do whatever she asked. Now, despite all that, I had a good life. I had plenty of money, and I'd found the love of my life. His name was Raj. He grew up in a poor but loving household, the exact opposite of my situation. We'd been together for 3 wonderful years, and I knew in my heart that he was my soulmate. He proposed on our 3rd anniversary. Best moment of my life. And then I told my family the big news, and everything changed. Raymond didn't seem to care one way or the other. He was already in a loveless marriage, and he couldn't wrap his brain around the fact that I actually had feelings for my partner. But my mother? She was horrified. You can't marry him. He's beneath you. You'll get nothing out of it. But I love him. Isn't that the only thing that matters? Raymond watched with this infuriatingly bemused smirk on his face as Mom and I got into a huge argument. She ordered me to call off the wedding, and for the first time, I told her no. She tried everything to convince me to change my mind, but when none of it worked, she walked over and whispered something horrible in my ear. If you marry that man, I don't think it would be safe. I'm worried that he might have an accident. I'll always remember that exact moment, and it made my skin crawl. I felt like throwing up. My own mother was talking to me like a mob boss. She basically threatened to murder Raj if I went through with the wedding. I had heard that she had done some shady things in the years that she had spent growing her empire, but I had never seen this side of her firsthand before. And the way she looked at me, I had no doubt she'd do it. She'd kill the love of my life just because he wasn't a good match. I ended things with Raj that weekend. I didn't tell him the real reason because I was too ashamed. Plus, I was worried that if he found out about my mother's threat, he'd tell me that he could live with the danger and convince me to marry him anyway. I couldn't let that happen. I simply told him that I didn't have feelings for him anymore. Well, a month later, Mom came to my apartment with some good news. I was in a deep depression at the time, scarfing down gallons of ice cream and barely leaving the couch. Mom said that she had found me a man, a better man. His name was Steve, and he was the son of a wealthy landowner outside of Miami. If I married him, Mom's company could buy all their land and make a boatload of money. It didn't matter that I'd never met Steve before. She wanted me to marry him to help her business. I should have said no. I should have screamed for her to leave my apartment. But I was at the lowest point in my life, and I didn't have the strength to stand up for myself. I told her that I'd like to meet him. 3 months later, Steve and I were married, just as Mom had wanted. I tried to tell myself that he was a good guy. We didn't have a spark, but he was handsome enough. Okay, in the bed. He spent most of his time driving around in his convertible and playing golf, so I didn't have to see him a lot. For a while, I convinced myself that I was happy. Eventually, the deal with Steve's family land went through, and we all made a lot of money. I accepted the fact that the rest of my life was going to be tolerable, but unfulfilling. And then I saw Raj again. We ran into each other on the beach. I took one look at him and started crying. All my old feelings came back, and I knew that I had made a mistake. He was the man I was truly meant to be with. We started talking, and I felt better than I had in a long time. Steve had gone to the bathroom at the time, but when he returned, he saw Raj and me together. And he saw the smile on my face. He angrily grabbed my arm and led me to the car without saying anything to Raj. "I know who that was. Don't you dare speak to him again." That moment was a real turning point in our marriage. Steve became possessive. He started checking in whenever I wasn't at home. He'd wait up for me when I was late, demanding to know where I was and who I'd been with. He knew that I was in love with another man, and his fragile ego had turned him into a jealous bully. After a month of this torture, I had enough. I told him I wanted a divorce. He didn't say anything for a long moment. He just glared at me. "If you leave me, I'll take everything you own." With horrifying coldness, he laid out his plan. How he'd get his lawyers to prove that I'd only married him for the land deal. How he would claim I was unfaithful. How he wouldn't stop until all of my property went to him, including my 20% stake in my mother's company. I didn't care. If anything, it felt freeing to sacrifice all ties to my rich, miserable life and start from scratch with Raj. I told him I'd draw up the papers. He stormed out. I felt weirdly euphoric for the next few days. But that ended when Mom came over for a surprise visit. I guess my lawyer had told her about the divorce papers, and Mom had gotten him to tear them up. "You can't divorce him. I refuse to let that take 20% of my company." Now, of course, all she cared about was